Opening statement was by Linda Johnson. That's the prosecutor here on the right. Very capable. Low intensity, not a lot of histrionics, not a lot of emotion. Very methodical, organized, professional. Overall, I'd give her a grade of maybe 7 or 8 out of 10. It could have been better in spots, but it was solid professional work. So she talked about how life-threatening safety matters. Life-threatening safety issues matter on a movie set just like it does everyone else. Basically, there's no unique involuntary manslaughter law for a movie set. It's one set of laws for everybody, especially when life is at stake. And of course, we're going to hear about the SAG safety guidelines, which I talk about frequently. Refrain from pointing a firearm at anyone. Did Alec Baldwin do that? Obviously. The gun shot Helena Hutchins. Never place your finger on the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Did Alec Baldwin do that? Well, there's lots of evidence of him doing it. In proximate time to the shooting, there's his finger right there, moments earlier, the same day, when he's practicing his presentation. Every time it's captured on film, his finger's on the trigger when he presents that gun. So he did all that. It's really incontrovertible. She mentioned to the jury that a lot of people will call this a prop gun, but make no mistake, everyone understood this was a real gun capable of firing real bullets. Everybody knew that. No one believed this was some inert object that was incapable of firing a lethal round. She spoke to the fact that there's zero evidence to believe the gun wasn't working in any way other than designed, including a chain of custody all the way from the factory. And they're going to bring in the owner of the factory, Pieta himself, to testify about this. There's video of Baldwin shooting the pistol over a variety of days on set. We have the FBI functionality testing. We even have Baldwin making statements that the gun was working. Just the only problem with the gun was that it had a live round in it. Otherwise, the gun was perfect. Baldwin says that. Now, notably, one point in his chain of custody is the importer. So Pieta in Italy uses an importer to bring the gun into the U.S. It's very common for overseas gun manufacturers. The importer actually used this gun as a show gun. So there's large gun industry events. There's like the NRA annual meeting. There's SHOT Show. And these are, I don't know. Remember, I've been to both of these many times, but it's like 20 acres of exhibit space. It's something insane. You literally spend days walking the exhibit space. That's how large it is. The importer, anyone who puts a gun out for display at one of these events, first of all the guns are deactivated so they can't fire for safety purposes. So firing pins are taken out, strikers are taken out, whatever's necessary so the gun can't fire a real round. The reason is the gun's going to be handled by maybe thousands of people at this event because they're on display. You can just pick it up. You can cock the hammer. You can press the trigger. You can spin the cylinder. You can do all that stuff. And if this was a show gun, that means it very likely was handled by hundreds or thousands of people. And there's zero record of any of them saying, hey, something's wrong with this gun. The hammer just dropped. Is it supposed to do that? The hammer just drops by itself. And then, of course, the other points of the chain of custody, there was never any evidence that it didn't work. When the FBI got it after the shooting, they did function testing. Quarter cock couldn't drop the hammer without working the trigger. Half cock couldn't drop the hammer without working the trigger. And if you had dropped it from half cock, if you had managed to drop it from quarter cock, the hammer wouldn't have enough force to ignite the primer because it's barely off the primer. If you could have dropped it from half cock is also the loading position the cylinder spins. But when you're cocking it, the cylinder spins enough so even if the hammer fell, it would fall between chambers and not strike a primer. So that can't be what happened. You have it at full cock and no one could get the hammer to drop without working the trigger until, of course, they hit the hammer with a mallet and managed to break the gun. But that's just obviously, nobody's saying someone hit the gun with a mallet when it was in Alec Baldwin's hand, pointed at Helena Hutchins. So the implication, obviously, is that he had to have pulled the trigger in order for the gun to discharge. Prosecutor Johnson, spoke quite a bit about Baldwin acting generally unsafe with what he knew to be a real gun. He would use it as a pointer. Go over there, go over here. He was constantly sweeping and pointing into people. They have lots of video of that. We saw a bunch of that in the Hannah Gutierrez trial. We'll see it again here. We'll see many images of him with his finger on the trigger when it's not supposed to be.